Iridium, hope you're doing all right. I've got a reaction for you. L.A Guns. So the song's called Knock Me Down. Now, L.A Guns for me, and it's another one of them bands that for some reason I never got into. Not because they weren't good or anything like that, because I don't know, it was just back then. I think they came out in the late 80s, around about that time. I just never pursued their music. I got no idea why. It could have actually been the name, because I know that Guns N' Roses came out around 88, didn't they? And I think that at the time, it seemed a lot of bands were trying to jump on the bandwagon, if you like. And I didn't know if this was one of them because of the name and all that. And it sort of put me off. It's a bit weird. It shouldn't have done, but I was only young. So, you know, 19 years old, probably, don't know why. But we're here now, 30 odd years later. Is it 30 odd years later? And shit like that don't matter to me anymore. So I'm here to listen to L.A Guns. Oh, I have heard the odd song, by the way, you know, way back when. I lost my way with music, as you know, anyone who follows the channel or watch some of the programs will know. Lost my way with music a little bit through the 90s and 2000s, but early 2000s and onwards, I've found my way back into the music I love, and now I'm just into it more than ever. But there was a period of time there where music to me probably wasn't as important as it is now, and it is really important to me now. It's one of the most important things in my life, easily. As well as lots of other things if my missus is watching and my kids. But you know what I mean. It's plays a big part in all of our lives as rock fans, metal fans. But for some of us, we did lose our way in some part. It wasn't that I got into other music. It's just that I left music behind and didn't listen to some new stuff. And thanks to some subscribers on the channel who, you know, they point some stuff that I've missed in my direction. It's just amazing. And especially the guys who come on and talk on the Zoom calls, they point out some stuff that I've missed. And I obviously went for a lot of years there where I missed a lot of music, but I'm catching up. I'm trying, but it's hard. But L.A Guns, let's just get back to them. Sorry. So, yeah, so I've heard, and this is just through social media and stuff, the sites I belong to, that their last few releases have been really, really good. Obviously, there's problems with L.A Guns. There's two bands running around with the same name. That ain't the first time this has happened to bands, is it? So, but this one is the one with Tracy Guns in. So I have had a little bit of experience with Tracy Guns lately. Mainly this album behind me. He appears on this album quite a bit. Social Disorder. If anyone hasn't checked that album out, sorry about the glare, check this album out. It's an amazing album on AFM Records. And Anders L.A. Romblom, who leads this band, he's actually signed this. You can't really see it. It's quite hard to see, but he signed this for me. You rock. And he signed it for me. That's cool. So, yeah, so he's on that album, and he does some amazing guitar work. I didn't realise how good Tracy Guns was, and people are probably thinking, well, of course he's fucking good. Well, if you don't know, you don't know. If you haven't followed his music, and I'm really impressed with his soloing, especially on that album, because he does what I want. He seems like he thinks about melody, and the guitar solo is well thought out. It's not just a lot of little jam on a guitar. It really surprised me, some of the guitaring. So along with that, and hearing that L.A Guns are back on track from whatever they were, but I missed all that. I don't know if they took a dip in form. A lot of bands did. A lot of those late 80s bands or 80s bands did take a dip. But it seems like they're back on track. And this is interesting, actually. So obviously this song is called Knock Me Down, but this is from the album Checkered Past, that's coming out in November, on the 12th of November, actually. So I thought when I saw Checkered Past, I thought, oh, is this going to be like they're covering old songs and all that? But it's not. It's called Checkered Past for a reason. I think they say they're sort of harking back to their original albums, but also moving forward to the next sort of level, if you like. I know a lot of bands have said that, you know, they're going back to their original sound and all that. I don't know what to think of that, but this is a bit of a new thing for me anyway. It's not as if I can relate this back to anything I've heard from LA Guns, because I haven't heard hardly anything, just the odd song. So this was written and recorded late 2020 and early 2021. And it's got obviously Tracy Guns, Phil Lewis and company, continuing with a darker lyrical tone of the preceding studio albums. So obviously their latest albums have been a bit darker. The Devil You Know and The Missing Piece. So it incorporates their classic rock influences into the mix. It says there's heavier songs and are mixed with bluesier, boogie-inducing tracks and dark, introspective ballads, often harking back to the first 3 albums, is what I said, but also pushing the band forward. And it's like divided into like sets, it says, the album. This is interesting, where a sonic style is explored across multiple songs before moving on to the next, making for a remarkable listening experience. So it's like it's in sections of maybe ballads, bluesier stuff, rocking sort of stuff. It's interesting. I mean, that sort of thing sort of excites me. I don't know why. It's a bit like concept albums, isn't it? It's sort of like, for some reason, although a lot of them are a load of shit, they excite me. The thought of a concept album excites me. And this is interesting as well. So I've rambled on now for 6.5 minutes before actually listening to anything from LA Guns. I am interested because I think this is going to give me something different. I really do. And, the melodic hard rock scene, if you like, is full up. And I keep saying it's full up with bands that sound very similar. And I sometimes want to hear something a little bit different, and that excites me a little bit. Although a lot of these bands are amazing, sometimes too much of a good thing. You know what I mean? So LA Guns, this is called Knock Me Down, the first single from Checkered Past. Here we go. I'm going to pause it there for a little bit here because I'm going to talk about this song so far. So this is obviously the boogie element that I was reading on the synopsis earlier. It's real fun, it's upbeat. I fucking love it. It really is giving me something different than what I'm hearing at the moment, and I think this is what it needs. It does remind me of a few bands though. It reminds me of the Cult for a start. Classic Cult for sure. It's got that feel of those 80s albums for sure. And I never heard a lot of the Cult stuff. I heard odd bits. I had the Electric album, I think, way back when in the 80s. I loved it. but it got that real feeling of the cult for me. You know what? I mean, this band are sort of, because of, I think it happened about the same time, they are sort of roped in with the Guns N' Roses band because of that, the names probably, and the sort of music it is sort of similar, where it's got that attitude. But man, how much better is this than that fucking Guns N' Roses song? This deserves so much more, exposure than that shitty fucking Guns N' Roses song. How much better is this than that song? Unbelievably, it just doesn't even come close. This is, if Guns N' Roses brought something like this out now, I think the fans would do their nut. They're sort of saying, a lot of them are saying, that, oh yeah, it's good. That Guns N' Roses is trying to hang on to something off of that Guns N' Roses song. Maybe it's the riff, or they're saying, oh yeah, the accent that fucking Axl is doing. You're just clutching at straws there. It's shit. Now, if they brought this out, Guns N' Roses would deserve a pat on the back for anything close to this. This is fun, energetic. It's got that attitude. I love the hand claps, actually. It's got hand claps in it, and I'm not usually a hand clap person, but it sort of gives it that energy and that fun boogie style. I love everything about it. I love the riffing, the sort of that melody riff that Tracy Guns is playing. It's sort of got that sort of rock and roll southerny sort of feel to it. I think it's brilliant for a first single as well, because you want something a bit upbeat. I said this before, a lot of bands now are bringing out something that don't sound like a single at all. I think that's not always a bad thing. It's nice to hear something, that an album cut as such. But I think this is a brilliant first single to get everyone excited, and it puts a smile on your face. It really does. This is obviously part, like I said, of the boogie element of L.A Guns' new album. I think it's great. And I'm excited to hear the different styles that they're going to include, because that's what you get with that Social Disorder. I know that Tracy was only guesting on it, but you get all those moody elements on that, and you get the fun elements, and that's what you get on that album as well. And it's sort of, I don't know if I'm not saying they're like L.A Guns, but I like something that gives me some variety. You know what I mean? Let's get on with the rest of this now, but hopefully we're going to hear a solo, and I can hear Tracy's amazing guitar solos as well. Here we go for the rest of this, guys. Very cool indeed. The solo was, it did what it was meant to do. It was a boogie song, so it did that sort of boogie, fun rock and roll sort of solo. Yeah, it suited the song perfectly. But it was just a fun fucking song, and I think that's what they're going for, and they succeeded easily. Real cool boogie song. the vocals were great, by the way. And I think, is this the original vocalist, I think, for L.A Guns? I'm not sure, but he's got that real sleazy, dirty feel to his vocals. It fit this song absolutely perfectly. I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's a great song. It's made me really excited, especially with this, what they're saying about this album, to include those different sections of styles. I think that's really, really interesting. It could either succeed or it might not, because, you know, track listing is sometimes important. And listening to it in that way, where you might, you know, the album could kick off with a few boogie songs, then it could like come to a halt with 3 or 4 ballads. I don't know how it's going to work, but it could work. It might not. But then again, we can listen to music how we want now, can't we? You know what I mean? It's just, you know, so easy now to listen to music, put it on shuffle, whatever you wanted to do, if you didn't like the way the track listing was. So that's not really, unless you obviously get an album, an actual record. But there you go. I've rambled on enough. I love it. What do you think of this L.A Guns song? I was reading the comments, actually. There's a mixed view, and I haven't got that on some of it. Just a couple of people saying, you know, they've heard better from them. But this is the first single. You know, there could be a lot of different stuff. But I mean, I haven't got anything to compare it to. I just love it as it is. That's my view on it. There you go. That's my reaction. Love it. Put in the comments below what you think of the song, and I'll see you next time.